Hi, I'm Greg Schaefer, and welcome to the Virtual CISO Moments Cybersecurity Quick Strike for Monday, February 13th, 2023. From Tech Republic, how IT jobs and recruiting on the dark web might trick you. The new Kaspersky report sheds light on why some tech pros look for jobs on the dark web and how to spot suspicious and likely illegal positions from recruiters in that environment. So, why are some IT pros looking for jobs on the dark web? Well, the number of ads offered on the dark web is collected by Kaspersky on 155 different dark web forums from January 2020 to June of 2022 is close to 200,000, with peaks during the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020. Well, some reasons that might prompt someone to look for a new job on some of these cybercriminal forums are what you would probably think, even though they are considering the risks of being caught by law enforcement, are getting laid off, pay cuts, lack of education requirements, a military service record, a criminal record that might prevent them from working in a particular area of expertise. Now, unfortunately, some people are also unaware of the consequences of doing such illegal jobs and do not think they might be prosecuted. There's also the chance that it might be hard to quit. To attract profiles, dark web recruiters mention advantages such as remote working, full time employment, or flexible schedules, yet people could fall prey to cybercriminal organizations such as Fin7, whose managers do not hesitate to threaten their employees who did not appear at work enough or to work enough or thought of leaving the criminal organizations. So threat actors are really looking for these particular tech professionals if you're, for whatever reason, still interested in this. Malware developers, since most attacks use malware to compromise companies. Pen testers who help malware developers by debugging malware. Attack specialists who are able to perform the initial intrusion on the target and then go laterally through the network. Reverse engineers for reversing tools. IT admins to configure and maintain the group's IT infrastructure. You got to have a good IT infrastructure if you're going to be doing this, just like any other business. Designers who create fake websites and phishing emails. We've all seen them, some of them not great at spelling. Analysts who gather information on the targeted companies and provide useful information to help launch the attack. So the bottom line is that you have to vet your potential employer just like a potential employer will vet their candidates. So a few things that a real employer would be that you should check for. A real employer will provide a full identity that can be verified. A real employer offers a real contract and generally does not pay in cryptocurrency. That's a big flag there. A real employer can provide legal documents to prove the existence of the company, depending on the country where the company is built, which seems to be hard to provide for a cybercriminal threat actor. Up next, we've all heard about those balloons, those China balloons, or wherever they're from. We had 3 shot down over the United States and Canada this past weekend. But have you ever thought about the types of data that these probes might be able to intercept? And if CISOs should be concerned? Well, if you haven't, then you're lucky because Christopher Burgess at CSO has. The answer to the second question is yes, and here is a summary from his opinion piece that you can link to in the show notes. GEOINT, or geospatial intelligence, refers to the ability to document the land below from 60,000 feet in high definition, or I guess with the other balloons, 40,000 feet. The author believes this to be the least concerning of intel collection types, but notes that perhaps the overflight was more strategic and was surveying for which the areas of the United States could be acquired as part of the Chinese Farm Acquisition Program, and by extension, which companies to target to ensure that program's success. ELINT, or ELINT, electronic intelligence. So the author asks the question, well, what telemetry is being shared by commercial vehicles in the air or on the ground that could be captured by the equipment on the balloon? What command and control signals from below to above can be intercepted? What tests are being conducted in the different areas over which the balloon passes? And these are items that could concern CISOs in many industries. MASINT, or Measurement and Signature Intelligence, or maybe that's MASINT, is potentially the most informative, according to the opinion of the author here. The platform passed through rain clouds and air streams from which it could have been sampling gases and vapors and dust and fibers in the air in an attempt to identify locations where certain types of research may be conducted where industry is active in sensitive production, or where military exercises are taking place. And then SIGINT rather, signals intelligence, sampling the entire radio spectrum, cataloging publicly available networks and signals from those of closed corporate networks. Civilian and military aviation would have been included. Interesting things to think about there. From the Hacker News, North Korean hackers targeting healthcare with ransomware to fund its operations. State-backed hackers from North Korea are conducting ransomware attacks against healthcare and critical infrastructure facilities to fund illicit activities. This, according to U.S. and South Korean cybersecurity and intelligence agencies, who warned that in a joint advisory. The attacks, which demand cryptocurrency ransoms in exchange for recovering access to encrypted files, are designed to support North Korea's national level priorities and objectives. Threat actors with North Korea have been linked to espionage, financial theft, and cryptojacking operations for years, including the infamous WannaCry ransomware attacks of 2017 that infected hundreds of thousands of machines located in 150 countries. This has produced a steady stream of illegal revenues for the sanctions-hit regime. And in addition to using privately developed ransomware, the actors have been observed leveraging off-the-shelf tools like BitLocker, Deadbolt, and so on for encrypting files, not to mention even impersonating other ransomware groups such as REvil. Interesting stuff. You may have heard that Reddit was hacked recently. We often look at events to learn from them, how we can do better or maybe adopt what did work for them. From dark reading, Reddit hack shows limits of MFA, strengths of security training. A tailored spear phishing attack, just to summarize, successfully convinced Reddit employee to hang over their credentials and their one-time password. But soon after, the same worker notified security. Now, specifically, if you're not familiar with this, on January 9th, Reddit notified its users that a threat actor has successfully convinced an employee to click on a link in an email sent out as part of a spear phishing attack, which led to a website that cloned the behavior of the internet gateway in an attempt to steal credentials and second-factor tokens. Now, the compromise of the employee's credentials and also to get through the two-factor, I believe it was through multi-factor fatigue, allowed the attacker to sift through Reddit's systems for a few hours, accessing internal documents, dashboards, and code. Reddit stated in its advisory to its customers. The company continues to investigate, but there is no evidence yet that the attacker gained access to user data or production systems. But here's the learning point. The employee suspected that something was wrong after entering credentials into the phishing site and soon after contacted Reddit's IT department. That reduced the attacker's window of opportunity and limited the damage. Now, this shows that employee awareness training is a very useful component of a holistic, layered security program. Employees should feel comfortable admitting their error and not feel like that they're going to be punished. And their company's culture really needs to encourage that. From Forbes, why cybersecurity professionals need to understand a hacker's perspective. The premise here is that if you understand a hacker's perspective and motivation, you have a better chance of winning the cyber war. This requires broadened awareness and a mindset not tinged with stereotypes or fringed or fixed benefits. Heightened people skills are needed to augment technical ones, and the article discusses how to accomplish that. So part of that is awareness and mindset changes that are necessary to see the other perspective. When awareness is missing, we have a lot of blind spots, according to the article, and disconnects, which directly affect cybersecurity. And then the author postulates that developing awareness in your technical employees is not impossible. Coaching them to open their eyes is a proven process. And then the second element is mindset. A mindset can either be one of growth or fixed. A fixed mindset lacks perspective, using only traditional and often outdated strategies to be cyber secure. A fixed mindset can evolve using practices that encourage reflection and uncover motivation. With a growth mindset, cyber professionals can tap into a more realistic perspective. So if you're interested in learning more about it, the link is in the show notes. And then finally, we have our list today. This list comes from TowerWall, and it is 5 reasons to hire a virtual chief information security officer. Now, as you know, I like taking lists that I find the headline interesting, and obviously I have a interest in this, being a virtual CISO myself. I don't read the lists until I read them here live, and therefore you get my reaction, for better or for worse. So let me bring that up. 5 reasons to hire a virtual chief information security officer in 2023. Number 1, an expanded attack surface. In 2020, the COVID crisis forced millions of workers across the globe to relocate their work. Okay, so this is talking about remote access and how a vCISO can help. vCISOs have vast experience and proven leadership in crisis situations. Many carry decades of experience and a superior track record of reducing cyber risk and improving cyber resilience. Now, yes and no. That is what a good vCISO should have. There are, as I've mentioned before on this podcast, there are organizations that will offer a vCISO service that doesn't have their resources do not have vast experience and proven leadership in crisis situations. So a takeaway from number 1 here is that when you're vetting your virtual chief information security officer service, make sure that they have that sort of experience. Number 2, evolving scamming techniques. While the network economy brought many benefits, it's also brought with it a tidal wave of false content. And how a vCISO can help. The vCISO role means staying up to date on the latest trends and technology to combat the epidemic of phishing attacks. This is rather generic, and I don't disagree with it, but I would have liked to have seen something in here about talking about artificial intelligence and how folks are using Chat GPT, which is on the forefront now of that threat, those trends and technologies to enhance phishing. We've talked about this on the podcast. Number 3, shifting priorities, budgets, and resources. They say here approximately 40% of cybersecurity teams were assigned or reassigned to general IT tasks during the pandemic as a means to ensure business continuity. And this is linking to a BitSite article, it looks like. And the argument here is that simply stated, a vCISO provides reduced overhead. They can be recruited on demand and come without the costs associated with a full-time employee. And they're talking here not just about the per hour cost, if you will, but stuff like health insurance, workers' comp, and all that stuff associated with an employee. So just having a contractor on board reduces the overhead to have a vCISO. So I agree with that. Number 4, increasing skill shortage of cybersecurity professionals. According to Microsoft, there will be a 3.5 million cybersecurity job loss, or rather open globally in 2025. A 350% increase over an 8-year period. How a vCISO can help us have a training required. They're already well-versed in day-to-day responsibilities and have in-depth knowledge. I will circle back to what I said beforehand. Make sure when you're vetting your vCISO that this is correct and they don't need training. I'll go back to a LinkedIn post, which many of you will remember from last year, that in essence said, hey, just put vCISO on your LinkedIn profile, find yourself a client, and then use that for on-the-job training, which is completely bad. And then number 5, small to mid-sized businesses are vulnerable as large enterprises, not more. Completely agree with this. The idea of SMBs saying that, I'm too small or nobody's going to attack me, that is a fallacy. And unfortunately, some SMBs don't realize that yet. And the vCISO here says vCISO is available for fast onboarding and will hit the ground running. Sourcing, building, and retaining the right security leadership requires a lot of time and commitment. I would agree with that there too. And I should note that this article was originally posted on CIO Views. So I will have that article, that link to that article, in the show notes. I didn't realize that till I got to the end. And that's it for today. We've got 2 great interviews coming up, and I'm looking for my notes here. We've got Aaron Roble on Wednesday. That will be a special one. And Ted, I'm going to, here we go. Ted Lenchilian. I hope I got your name pronounced right, Ted. I apologize for that. He'll be coming up on tomorrow for our regular Tuesday. great conversations and great insight with regards to SMB security issues, and hope you get a chance to join us then. And until then, stay secure.